Hi, hello, and welcome. I'm definitely not Vlad, and we're reading some patch notes. So I haven't had a chance to actually play this yet because the reset in Europe is on Wednesday, but I'm looking forward to these changes, that's for sure. Along with everything else 11.07 has to offer. We already discussed that in a previous video, but I don't want to yap about that. I want to yap about this. So Kaivax, the bearer of good news, or the raccoon of good news, I guess. Along with the 11.07 patch this week, we'll make the following changes to encounters in Mythic Plus dungeons to provide better parity across different specializations and reduce composition restrictions. Basically, please God, play something other than Prot Paladin. Please stop playing Prot Paladin. Here, other tanks, you can survive. Please start playing something other than Prot Paladin. That's basically what this means. And I mean this for hierarchies. Like, it's easier to survive on Prot Paladin, I guess. So yeah, anyway. And I guess this, I'm looking at some of these changes. I realized some of them affect healers because of like venomous spray and stuff like that. This is clearly meant to maybe promote some healer diversity as well, just to give more tanks and healers a chance in these runs. We'll see if the meta shifts a little bit from this. It's kind of late into the patch, or rather late into the season, so people are kind of set in their ways and they only want to invite a certain thing. But we'll see if people maybe yap about the viability of other specs now. Maybe people will invite it. Anyway, let's see what the changes are. So in Ara-Kara, we have Kikatal, the Harvester, so the last boss. Cultivated poison periodic damage reduced by 10%. This is kind of nice because you sometimes don't want to even dispel it because you're just so scared of people running into your thing, because there's a lot of people that will reposition. For instance, whenever I play a Prot Paladin, a Red Paladin or anything that can self-dispel, I will try to move off to the side. So I'm kind of running around quickly to dispel myself. And while I'm running around, maybe the healer doesn't want to dispel other people in case I run into the other people's poisons. So being able to survive those ticks a bit more will probably help. I don't think this will really change how people feel about the boss fight. The boss fight kind of sucks. It's just kind of poorly designed, in my opinion. I should point out this is my opinion. So yeah, this will make it less insufferable, but honestly it's just annoying because there's so much crap on the ground everywhere and you can't step places. If your group is poor at positioning things and you don't have a designated guy to kill the what are they called, the little guys that bring down the poison goops and what, or the root goops or whatever the heck. But yeah, besides the point, this is a nice change. It's not going to change much about this fight. This fight just sucks. And this is, I will point out right away, this is from the perspective of someone who's like maxing out at 10 keys. Like I don't push further because it's just not fun anymore. But this is my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. On super high keys, this is probably murderous. But you also, on super high keys, you probably have a group that can sort of handle it. Like a few people will get dispelled and then one person will just get defensive or external. That's how I imagine it being, because you kind of just can't survive this. You have a paladin who can dispel 2 people, who can also probably survive the ticking damage. So the paladin can dispel 2 people by using sack. Every 1 minute you can use sack, because sack will remove and prevent the application of poisons and diseases if you have the correct talent, which I would imagine for Ara-Kara you would bring that talent 100% of the time on those super high keys. Okay, so next up is City of Threads, also known as the Wipe Fest. So Orator Krigsvisk, I'm just imagining that's how you would pronounce that. Sounds like Velcro shoes being like, opened up, whatever. It's pretty bad. But subjugate shadow damage reduced by 20%. That's nice. Tankbuster nerf. Hell yeah, let's go. Could do with like I guess there is like a rhythm to the boss fights. So boss fight cooldowns probably aren't going to be changed. That would be a pretty big change. But yeah, 20% less damage. That's probably going to make it less lethal in the keys that I run. In the super high keys, I'm sure it'll help, but I don't know if it will fully address the issue. I think the issue is mostly just like having these tank busters be so common. So they come in so quickly one after another. But that's mostly a trash issue, I guess. So we'll see some of the trash being addressed later on, such as, for instance, Royal Venom Shell. It's the one mob you have to fight right before you enter the last area with the goop boss and the actual last boss. And he does that venom spray. So venom spray periodic damage reduced by 25%. So when he applies a poison, unavoidably to everyone unless you have an immunity. It'll do 25% less damage as it ticks, which is amazing because that straight up wipes people. 25% is a lot. It's a pretty significant nerf because most groups will actually pull the Venom Shell on its own just to avoid having to deal with two of those poisons. The first time around, you can, I don't know, like Mistweaver revival it or something, and it's cool. Or you again, if you have a paladin or two, that's for the spells again with the sack thing that I described for this. Basically, if you skipped forward, when you have a specific talent, you can use sack to remove poisons and diseases and also prevent its application. So if you're preemptively using it on someone to prevent the application of it, you can reduce some more of the damage by avoiding all of the ticks. Anyway, next up, Grim Batol, the Twilight Flame Render, Shadow Flame / initial damage reduced by 25%. Okay, so they won't be gutting me randomly. That's a welcome change. 25% again is a huge amount. Definitely welcome. I don't know what the cooldown on those is. I haven't really paid attention to that, and I don't think I've really paid attention to I don't think I've really died to this. I have died to Molten Giant, not in my ongoing series, but in other runs that I've done on the side. Damage reduced by 21%. That's a very specific amount. I don't know why it's 21%. Like all of these are 20, 25, and this one's 21. I don't know. Maybe there's like a break point that they're looking at with how much damage it does on a specific key, so they opted for 21%. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But the cooldown is increased, and they don't say how much. We're going to hope that all of our really, really nice WeakAuras makers and big wigs people take a look at this and find out what the actual cooldown is with data mining or whatever, and adjust the WeakAuras and big wigs and little wigs and medium wigs and DVM accordingly. But this is the first time we see a cooldown increase. I am very happy about that. That is actually the difficult part of the Tankbusters, is that you just get hit over and over and over again in one pull, especially with Fortified active. It takes a while to kill these guys unless you, I don't know, run in with them being right at the start of the stun and you have all your cooldowns. Then they're going to melt, of course, even though they're already molten. Ha! Get it? Anyway, they can be pretty rough with the Lava Fist. And I think this is like a go-to example of mobs hitting you too hard too often. Or I guess I can riff on this a little bit. Basically, they said that the tank changes that they implemented at the start of the War Within, or rather in the pre-patch for the War Within, were meant to smooth out the damage profile, right, of the enemies. They nerfed your survivability because you should be taking damage more consistently, but not dying more often, which is not the case at all, because they've left all of these tank busters so frequent that, you know, you just constantly spiking a huge amount of your health is just dropping every now and again. So there's like only one viable tank, which is Paladin. For super high keys. For super high keys, there's only one viable tank because he can push like 3 key levels higher than the other tanks, which is crazy. There's never been a tank this balanced like this, I think. But what do I know? I don't really push those keys. Anyway, this is a very welcome change. Honestly, I would take this without this and be super happy. But with a conjunction like this, that's amazing. Mists of Tirna Scithe, Mistveil Guardian, Protector of the Mist damage buff reduced to 2% per stack was 3%. I have no idea how much of an effect this is going to have. I honestly never tracked this. I didn't see how many stacks they had at any point in time. If this goes up to something like 15, 20 stacks, then yeah, this is a very relevant buff. Other than that, or nerf, I should say. But other than that, I don't know if this is going to be noticeable. Somebody in the comments might be able to tell me like how big of a change this actually is, because I'm not very familiar with this, because I didn't really ever struggle with the Guardians. Probably in super high keys, it becomes a nightmare for the tank to survive, especially double Guardian pulls, because they do that slash, and that slash freaking hurts, man. I can tell you that. I used to sack my tank as a Retribution Paladin just to make sure that they survive that. And Siege of Boralus, our entire Curse Blade, this is huge. The 5% nerf to them nerfing us is pretty welcome. Like, you would think they're like a normal mob, you just wipe them out super quick, but that curse slash is ridiculous. And of course, again, another example of curses being super difficult to deal with. I'm saying this as if you know what I'm talking about, as if we just talked about curses for like 10 minutes. But what I mean by this is, anytime there's a curse, that debuff is 5 times worse than any other debuff you might get. And it's also much harder to deal with because curse dispels are rarer than the other dispels, from my understanding. Anyway, this is definitely welcome. It's a boost to tank survivability. You're still gonna send cooldowns every time you have this debuff, but it's still, you would sometimes die through the defensives that you run with this because it was so powerful. So making it less powerful, definitely welcome, and tanks are breathing a sigh of relief at a bunch of these changes. But next up we have the Stonevault Voidbound Despoiler. Shadow Claw cast time increased to 2.5 seconds. Thank you, Jesus, because honestly, it went down in a blink and you would just get bopped on the head by that big guy. And it hurts. This thing hurts. I've seen tanks go, what the hell is going on? The Shadow Claw cast time and cooldown increased. Again, the same thing as here with the Molten Giant. Very, very welcome change. Getting hit by it like 3 times, 4 times in a fight, it's like you run out of defensives, because I'm imagining in like a super high key, you have to send a defensive each time this comes down or you're dead. So like what do you do? What do you do when it's done it 4 times and the first of your defensives isn't back up again? You die. That's what you do. So what's next? We have Curse Heart Invader. Void Infection periodic damage reduced by 25%. Healers are rejoicing. Oh man, that Void Infection hurt really bad. And it could go like on the same target multiple times if there's multiple invaders. It really, really hurts. Like if you get it, if you have 1, you're sending a defensive. If you have 2, you're begging for an external. It's really bad. And sometimes you can even get 3 depending on how the group's pulling and whatnot. So this is, I know, like I played a bit of Mistweaver recently, and I welcome this change wholeheartedly, because I was sending my bubble on people the second I saw 1 or 2 of these on someone. And we have Master Machinists, Igneous Hammer damage reduced by 20%. Very welcome change. That thing hurt. That thing really hurt. I felt it worse than the Subjugate Shadow damage. I haven't really done this much on the series. I think I did 1 of these Stonevaults, and I did 1 City of Threads, which didn't go great. But the Stonevault was a +2, so it didn't really matter. But I have done a higher Stonevault also on a Protection Paladin earlier in the whatchamacallit, in the season, and Igneous Hammer really hurts. If you don't have some defensive running for this, if you're not at full health, you're dead. Like if you're like 70% health, this thing will kill you. So it's very dangerous, and having its damage reduced by 20% will make tanks very happy. I know it'll make me happy. This will definitely make the ongoing series I have much easier to complete, that's for sure. Especially the healer one. Like looking at some of these, the healer one is going to be very, very nice. But yeah, that's the changes. So let's see what they say why they're doing these. These changes are intended to address high damage, frequently cast magical tank attacks, as well as 2 non-magic dispel spells that require significant throughput increases if they cannot be removed. So basically, if you don't have a curse remove, or I guess a poison remove in this case, you're shit out of luck, and you know you have to heal a whole bunch. And yeah, definitely magical tank attacks were the bane of our existence. Because with armor, you can just stack up a bunch of armor. You have your active mitigation armor out the ass on pretty much every tank, except for, I guess, what's it called? Brewmaster. But Brewmaster didn't really have a huge issue with huge tank hits, you know, because of the whole stagger mechanic. I don't know. I can't really comment much on Brewmaster because I've barely played it at all. So yeah, I'm super happy with these changes. I think they'll make a good change. Hopefully this is not just a change to make these dungeons bearable. It is a philosophy shift. I mentioned that while I was already yapping. I would really like to see this going forward be just like baseline, right? Just like the crest changes. I want this to stay like this. I want the damage for tanks to not be so incredibly frequent and so incredibly punishing. And of course, these AoE and the spell issues, I think, are being addressed, sort of, and I hopefully they'll, going forward, they will keep that in mind. Like if Void Infection and Venomous Spray type mechanics are nerfed in the future, not nerfed, but just like balanced more properly, I'd be pretty happy about that. I think another thing they could do is, and I think this is actually, I don't know, let me know what you guys think about my little cook here, but the web mages in Ara-Kara, the ones that do the volley thing, I think those guys, I think those guys are a good example of how to handle the spells that on group wide the spells, which is make them last as long as the heal absorb that they apply is present. So if you manage to pump some healing just to get that heal absorb away, then they all go away, and you don't have to actually dispel 5 people and try to manage whoever's left. I feel like that would put some agency into the healer's hands, because the healer can only dispel 1 person, unless they have an AoE dispel, of course. But that's a 3-minute, 2-minute cooldown depending on your builds and depending on if it can even handle it, right? Because like Resto Druid ain't gonna do shit about it. He's just gonna hot everyone up and hope for the best. But what I'm trying to say is, maybe the best way to handle it is to just make me heal it. Make me heal it, but not in the sense of heal the damage, but heal to prevent it. So if I can time my AoE big heal for when the damage lands and all the debuffs are applied, then I should be able to remove that. That sounds fun to me. I don't know what you guys think about it. If you're a healer, I would love to hear your opinion. Let me know in a comment. Now let's see about what people have to say. Okay, when the foundation is literally rotting. Okay, this guy, like, he's not going to be happy no matter what Blizzard does right now, unless they just take what he wants done and do it. I don't necessarily disagree with him about anything, like the specifics that he's pointing out. I don't think the foundation is literally rotting. It's one season that you didn't like, so just shush, you know? So what does he say? Here's what you actually should fix instead. Tank/heal and general self-sustained tuning. I don't know what that means. Peril affix perma removed, possibly replaced with something less atrocious and lazy. I don't think it's lazy, but I think it's pretty shit. Like, yeah, I believe Challenger's Peril needs to get removed. Needless bumps on +10 and +12 smoothened out. What's even the point of fortified tyrannical anymore if both are present always? That's a good point. You know, I guess it's meant for variety for the lower than 12 keys. 1 week you have to worry about trash, 1 week you have to worry about the bosses more, and one or the other is more fun for you depending on what you play and whatnot. So I think I don't know. I don't think they necessarily need to be removed, because people who want to push high, I think it's pretty okay. Although it does make the jump from 9 to 10 a bit brutal. CC changes plainly reverted. N+ was fine with it since 2016, so I doubt that the War Within should be that much different in this regard. I don't know about it having to be like it worked before, so it should work now. Changes should be implemented to see if it's more fun, but the CC changes were not more fun. There is nothing more fun about somebody stunning something or blinding something or whatever, you know, CCing something that you're about to kick, and then your kick just whiffs and you do nothing with it and it feels horrible. And like, that person was trying to help. They were actively trying to help, but you feel like you wasted something and they annoy you because they were trying to help. It's just, I don't know. It's very punishing, and I don't see why they did it. Maybe I can understand the logic of like, hey, just pull less so you have to kick less, but pull less is not more fun ever. Not every pull has to be 50 mobs, but like, don't prevent us from pulling every so often. There's a whole debate behind this, so I'm not going to get too far into it, but I think that big pulls are super fun, and sure, there should be pulls where you can't pull too much with something because it'll just be overwhelming, but not every pull should be 3 mobs, Blizzard. So let's just revert the CC change. But why 3 months late? That's true. Honestly, these kinds of nerfs could have happened earlier in the season, I think. I think that Blizzard is just now getting the numbers in, though, like in the sense of they saw a sharper than usual drop off and they like panicked. Let's go fix things. I don't want to read all this. I'm sure this person has a great point, and if you guys want to read it, I'm gonna just stand here for a second. You can pause and read through it. But I'm not going to read that right now. Yeah, a lot of people just saying too little too late. Like, okay, I would have rather had these changes sooner. I agree. But I'm glad that they're realizing that these are issues, even if it took them a while. And I'm hoping that they take these things and move them forward into the future seasons and you know, fix all of that. And not fix, but like, don't make the same mistake again. Like, balance the numbers more closer to this right off the bat, and also hopefully change like the actual damage patterns of bosses so that you don't have to nerf the tankbusters like this, and also the damage pattern of mobs, like adjust them enough so that you don't have to increase cooldowns and reduce damage and stuff like that. But I think it was really hard for Blizzard to balance things out this time around, because the gearing has been more difficult. So people are getting their gear later on. The tank nerfs in combination with the CC nerf, in combination with the affix changes. There's just a lot of things that Blizzard had on their plate at the same time. They chose to do this themselves, so it's still their fault. But it's not like they don't care. It's just that they probably just didn't have the resources to address all of these things at the same time. But I have been yapping for 24 minutes again for a very, very short post. Somebody's going to call me out about it again. There was one guy that said, 24 minutes about a 1 minute read. Talk about milking. It was a salty comment, but like I get it. I like to yap. Okay, I'm passionate about the game, and I'm super happy to see that they're doing things that I like. So yeah, I will yap about it. Let me know what you think about these changes. Do you think it's too late? A lot of people for the crest changes also said that it was just too late. I think as well that it is too late, but again, I'm just, parroting here and repeating myself like a broken record, but I really hope that it's a thing that they change going forward. The crest thing, they did confirm, is a change for going forward, and hopefully this marks the change in a like philosophy shift about how damage is dealt to tanks and how damage is dealt to groups, and how AoE like debuffs and just debuffs in general are addressed, especially when there's such huge, barely manageable dots. But that's pretty much it for this Yap Fest. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, drop a like, let me know what you liked about it, and subscribe. A lot of people watching these videos are not subscribed, but they keep coming back and watching. So if you're not subscribed and you want to keep watching, well, blow up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I'll catch you in the next one.